All right, so welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going deep, like really deep, into Philip Pullman's Aladdin and the Enchanted Lamp.
Ah, yes, Aladdin.
Yeah, you sent over some great resources. Like we've got stuff about the story itself, the themes, even some stuff about Pullman as an author.
Right.
So basically, we're going to try and figure out what makes Pullman's version of the story so interesting.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. And, everyone knows the basic story of Aladdin,
Right.
but we want to go deeper, figure out what Pullman is doing with it, what he wants us to think about, that
Ah.
sort of thing.
So, where do we start? Well, let's meet the characters, right? First up, gotta be Aladdin, right?
Yeah,
But he's not just some, street rat. Pullman sets this story in China, and Aladdin is just this kid who loves to have fun. He's not so into hard work,
right,
which makes his dad, Mustafa, a little worried.
right.
But then Aladdin finds this lamp, and his whole life changes.
Yeah, and that's the thing that really grabbed me, right? It makes you think about how someone, so how to put this, carefree
Right.
can become a hero. So
Yeah.
you're immediately hooked.
Yeah.
You want to see how he grows and changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, of course, there's the genie.
The genie of the lamp.
Yeah. That all-powerful genie trapped in the lamp, waiting to grant wishes. It's such a classic idea,
Yeah.
The idea of having your deepest desires fulfilled. Like, who wouldn't want that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then we have the princess, right? Princess Badr al-Budur. But she's not just some, prize to be won.
No, not at all.
She's a big part of the story, and she really affects what happens to Aladdin. But, every story needs a bad guy.
Definitely.
And in this case, it's the sorcerer, More.
More, yeah.
And what's so sneaky about him is that he pretends to be Aladdin's uncle. Like, how messed up is that?
It's pretty devious. It plays on Aladdin's, maybe his need for family, for someone to look up to. And it sets you up for the betrayal that's coming, right? It makes you distrust everything More does.
And then there's Aladdin's mom. She's working hard, spinning cotton to make ends meet, especially after her husband dies. And it's actually her idea to sell this old lamp they have. And guess what?
That's the lamp, right?
That's the magic lamp.
It's amazing how Pullman does that. The magic just appears in this ordinary moment. It's like, even in your everyday life, there's potential for something extraordinary to happen.
Okay, so we know the players. Let's get into the story. So it starts with Aladdin meeting this sorcerer.
Who he thinks is his uncle, right?
Yeah, and this uncle tells Aladdin about all this treasure in a cave.
Treasure.
Yeah, and all he has to do is go get this lamp.
Okay.
So he gives Aladdin a ring for protection and sends him down. It's a pretty dangerous cave, lots of traps and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Right. And you can see how Aladdin wants to believe this guy. He's young and who wouldn't want adventure and riches. And that ring, it seems like a small thing, but it's like Pullman is dropping a hint about what's going to happen later. So Aladdin finds the lamp, like the sorcerer said. But when he comes out, the sorcerer tries to double-cross him. He wants that lamp, and he's not going to help Aladdin out of the cave unless he gets it.
Oh, man. Classic bad guy move.
Totally. So Aladdin refuses, and the sorcerer gets mad and shuts him in the cave. Can you imagine? 3 days trapped in the dark. That would be terrifying.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
And, what does he do? He rubs the ring, just like without thinking.
Of course.
And bam, genie appears. Wishes granted, just like that. And, what does Aladdin wish for? To go home.
Yeah, makes sense, right? He's scared. He's alone. He just wants to be safe.
Exactly. So he gets home, and his mom, bless her heart, she sees this dirty old lamp and thinks, hey, maybe we can sell this. So she starts cleaning it, and, well, you know what happens.
Another genie.
Another genie. This one's even more powerful than the ring genie, and boom, Aladdin and his mom are suddenly rich. It's like instant makeover, lifestyle edition.
Right. And now you're really wondering what he's going to do with all this power. Is he going to change it for the better or for the worse?
So Aladdin, he's not wasting any time. He wants to marry the princess, right? And he wants to impress the sultan. So what does he do? He uses the genie to build this like crazy, enormous palace. I'm talking like solid gold, fountains of jewels, the whole 9 yards.
Talk about going from rags to riches.
I know, right? But of course, the sorcerer, he hasn't given up. He's still after that lamp. So he comes back to the city, but he's disguised as a peddler.
Oh, no. That's so sneaky.
I know. And he tricks the princess into trading the magic lamp for a new one.
Oh, come on. That's so frustrating. It just shows that even when you have everything, you can still be tricked. You can't let your guard down.
It's a hard lesson to learn. And just like that, the sorcerer is back in control. He uses the lamp to take the whole palace, the princess, everything to Africa.
To Africa.
To Africa. Aladdin is back to square one, but he remembers that ring, the one the sorcerer gave him, so he rubs the ring, wishes to go to Africa, and sets off to get everything back.
See, that's what I like about this part.
Yeah.
He's not just relying on the genie to fix everything. He's taking action.
And in Africa, he outsmarts the sorcerer, gets the lamp back,
Yes.
and boom, palace is back where it belongs, princess is safe, happy ending, right.
It's so satisfying to see the bad guy get what's coming to him. And Aladdin really proves himself in this part, you know. He uses his wits and his courage. He's not the same lazy kid from the beginning.
And get this, Pullman doesn't stop there. Aladdin ends up becoming the Sultan. Talk about a glow-up.
It's like the ultimate reward for all the challenges he faced, right? He learns and he grows, and he ends up in a position to do good for others.
So thinking about this whole story, one of the big things that jumps out is this idea of transformation, right?
Absolutely. That's a huge part of it.
Aladdin starts as this, like, happy-go-lucky kid and becomes, like, a real hero and leader. It's like Pullman is saying that anyone can change, anyone can grow if they face their challenges head on.
Right. It gives you hope. You know, it makes you think that maybe you can overcome your own weaknesses and become a better version of yourself.
And of course, there's that classic good versus evil thing going on. The sorcerer is all about greed and power, and Aladdin, he ends up fighting for what's right.
It's a timeless struggle. You know, it's been in stories for centuries, and it's still relevant today. We all face choices between doing what's easy and doing what's right.
And then there's the whole wish thing.
The magic lamp.
Yeah, it makes you think about what you would wish for, right?
Yeah.
But the story shows that even with magic, you still have to work for what you want. You have to be smart, be brave. It's not just, poof, everything's perfect.
Right, right. And you have to be careful what you wish for, too. There are always consequences, even to magic.
And we can't forget that Pullman himself is a storyteller. He's taking this old story and making it new again. It's like he's saying these old stories still have something to teach us today.
Yeah, exactly. And he does it in a way that's really engaging. You know, it makes you want to keep reading to see what happens next.
It also makes you think about how someone who starts with nothing can rise to the top. It's a pretty classic idea, but it still feels relevant. Like everyone wants a chance to make a better life for themselves, right?
Absolutely. It's a story about hope, about the possibility of change, even if it takes a little bit of magic.
So, you know, this story doesn't just exist on its own. Our sources remind us that it's part of this whole collection called the Arabian Nights. It's like a treasure trove of stories from the Middle East and South Asia. It's amazing to think about how these stories have been passed down for generations.
It really shows how important storytelling is to culture and history. These stories connect us to the past and teach us about different parts of the world.
Right. And if this version of Aladdin gets you hooked, there are other books you can check out. There's The Forbidden Wish, which is told from the genie's point of view.
Oh, wow, that's a cool twist.
And then there's A Thousand Nights and The Wrath and the Dawn. They're not about Aladdin exactly, but they're inspired by the Arabian Nights, so they have that same magical feel.
Yeah, and those recommendations show that there are lots of different ways to explore these themes of magic, destiny, and transformation.
And you can even see some connections to other stories you might know, like Jack and the Beanstalk. It's another story about a boy who finds something magical that changes his life, or even Cinderella. It's all about like sudden change in fortune and a little bit of magic helping out. It makes you realize that some stories, some ideas are just so powerful that they keep popping up in different cultures and different times.
It's fascinating to see how those stories change and adapt depending on who's telling them and when they're being told. It shows that stories are always evolving, just like we are.
So let's talk about Philip Pullman for a minute. The guy who wrote this Aladdin book, he's pretty famous, right? I mean, he wrote his dark materials, including The Golden Compass. That's a big deal.
He's a really well-respected author. His books have this way of making you think about big ideas, but they're also just really good stories.
So we found out some interesting stuff about his life. He was born in England back in 1946, and his family moved around a lot because his dad and then his stepdad were in the Royal Air Force, so he lived in Australia and Wales too. Pretty cool childhood, right?
Yeah, that must have given him a lot of different experiences to draw on in his writing. It makes sense that his stories would have this sense of adventure and exploration.
And get this, he loved reading comic books as a kid. Batman, Superman, you know, the classics. I love that. Before he was a full-time writer, he was a teacher in Oxford. Oh, and he actually writes most of his books in a shed in his garden. How cool is that?
That's amazing. It's like his own little creative space. And it shows that you don't need a fancy office or anything to write a great story. Sometimes all you need is a quiet place in your imagination.
And he really believes in the power of stories. He says that they help us understand what it means to be human,
Mhm.
which, is kind of what we're doing here, right? Talking about stories and what they mean to us. And not surprisingly, he's won a ton of awards for his writing.
And that's a testament to his skill as a writer. He knows how to craft a story that will stay with you long after you finish reading it.
So, what makes this version of Aladdin so special? Well, people say it's super exciting and easy to read, which is always a plus, right? And it's got these beautiful illustrations that really bring the story to life.
Yeah, those illustrations can really enhance a story, especially for younger readers. It can make the world of the story feel more real and engaging.
And Pullman does a great job of keeping the main parts of the original story, but telling it in a way that feels fresh and new. He's not just copying the old story, he's making it his own.
And that's what makes a good retelling.
Right.
Right. It has to respect the original, but also bring something new to the table.
And one interesting thing about this version is that it's set in China.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It's not always set in China, so that was a choice that Pullman made. And it kind of makes you think about the story in a different way.
It adds a whole new layer of cultural context.
Yeah.
And it shows that these classic stories can be adapted to fit different settings and cultures.
And, people say this book is a really good introduction to the Aladdin story. It's perfect for reading aloud to kids.
Yeah, it's a great way to share this classic tale with a new generation and to get them excited about reading and stories.
So wrapping things up, Pullman's Aladdin and the Enchanted Lamp is a pretty awesome take on a classic story. It's got these great characters, a super exciting plot, and it makes you think about important stuff like
Right.
changing yourself and how we use power.
Right. And he does it all in a way that's really engaging and accessible. It's a story that anyone can enjoy, no matter their age or background.
Absolutely. And leaving you with something to think about. Aladdin goes through all these big changes, right? He gets all this wealth and magic.
Right.
But does that actually make him a better person? Like, does having all this power actually help him grow and become more responsible? Or could all that power actually stop him from really maturing? Just something to think about.
That's a great question. It makes you wonder about the true nature of power and responsibility
Eh.
and whether external changes can truly lead to internal growth.
Yeah, something to ponder. Thanks for joining me on the deep dive today.
Of course, it was a pleasure. Always love a good deep dive.
Until next time.
See you then.